And hey, I got something to say. We are on such a roll with incredible women. First of all, I just ran in the door from a NABO convention right near me at the Villanova University. So many great, powerful women. It was the Philadelphia branch. I had a blast. The speakers were amazing. The breakout sessions were amazing. It's so cool to see women supporting women. I love every freaking minute of it. Now, this next woman coming on, she is just the bomb. I have to bring her on. Hey, I got something to say. And there she is. Woo!
Hello.
I'm so excited you're on. And I love the fact that I was on your show first. And then I got to, know you. It was just so incredible. How are you?
We had an amazing show. So for anybody who's with us, I think I want you guys to also go and listen to us in the Inner Voice, the Heartfelt Chat with Dr. Foojan, and that one is also on the podcast and the YouTube channel. So
yeah, it's going to be really cool. All right, before we get into it, woman, let me tell them a little bit about you. Cool.
All
right,
let's go.
Dr. Foojan Zeine is a psychotherapist, radio podcast host, international speaker, and author. She has her doctorate in clinical psychology and is a licensed marriage and family therapist practicing online and in her office, I'm jealous, in Southern California. Dr. Zeine is the originator of awareness integration, educational and psychological theory and intervention, and the author of not just one, but 6 books, including Life Reset, The Awareness Integration Path to Create the Life You Want. She has authored and co-authored 5 books. She is the host of a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan at KMET 1490 AM/ABC radio. You are one busy lady.
Thank you. And it's so nice to be with you again.
Yeah, we had fun. It was fun. Yeah. All right, so we're going to get right into it. I have so many questions for you. Before you come on, I asked my peeps, my listeners, what do they want to ask Dr. Zeine? And the biggest question of your 4 points that they wanted to know about, that's a little iffy for them, is how to trust your intuitive sense and add logical, real data for the decision making. A lot of my listeners said they have trouble figuring that out. Do you have any guidance for them?
I'm glad that that's what your listener said, because that is accurate. There's a latest book that came out, Know Thyself, and anybody who, I think, is a beautiful book, because they are, this is the only lab in England, in the world. It's in England, and it's the only lab in the world that actually have done a lot of research on self-awareness. And obviously, I created the psychology model awareness integration. I'm like, I've got to read this book. I got to listen to this research. And part of what neuroscience is saying is that a lot of times our perceptions are not right, to the target. And a lot of the things that we actually see and feel might not be accurate, and we have to do reality check with it. So when your audience says, I don't know if I should trust my intuition, I'm like, good question.
Yeah.
There's also this other part of us that our whole system is not just the 5 senses that we pick up data. There's there's a lot of different ways that we pick up data before we even see something, and I'm sure people have experienced, they have a twinge in their stomach that happens, and then suddenly they see somebody. And a lot of, again, neuroscience has shown that there are other perceptual concepts that you might have a couple of seconds before your eyes actually sees it or your ears actually hears it. So there is a way that we have emotions, and emotions are getting triggered because of some data that shows up for us, and we have that. So if they're kind of like hearing, listening, feeling our feelings and getting the message from it. Like I got this emotional experience in my body, and I'm going to trust that my body just got something and is having some sort of reaction to it. So hear it. Don't deny it, because that is denying yourself and denying the information that is being picked up. But now, what is the information, and what is it that I need to do with it, and all of that? Then we want to rely on, obviously, our logic, our analytical sense to do some reality check about it, and then kind of bring these two parts together and make some decisions. People who just say, I'll do system check with my analytic, but don't worry about it because my body and my senses says something else, then you're limiting yourself, right? And if you only analysis and don't take your body sensation and an emotional sensation and what is telling you, then you're also limiting yourself. So having it all be as an information to process. Obviously, your emotional sense is telling you something which is important for your survival, important for your identity. And you need to listen to that message if it's gnawing at you. Usually emotions will, the raw aspect of it is saying, it's simple. Is it pleasurable or is it painful? Is it going to make me move forward in my life, or is it going to destroy me? So, a non-complicated one is just as simple as that. But obviously we're human beings and we're complicated, and therefore not only we get that, but we give it meaning, and other meaning shows up, and we make emotions much more complex. But listen, emotions are just giving us messages. So having the ability to hear the message, like if something is making me angry, there's a message into that. Is it, is it like, I think it's unfair? Is somebody kind of entering my space without me liking it? Is it pressuring me somehow? Is it threatening somehow? So then we take that emotion and kind of filter it through what's real out there. Is it real? Is something really here that is harming me? Is it just my imagination? Is it my expectation? Is my expectation real or not? And then we send that through the logic to make the appropriate action afterwards. So a lot of stuff happens here, and then we decide to make that action. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. And you cleared something up for me, because many years ago, a mentor said to me, when people say, trust your intuition, and he said, okay, that's well and good, but your brain could, from all your experiences you have, is sending you messages, but it doesn't mean they're going to serve you well. So you have to learn what that means and combine it with what you said, real logical data. And I just didn't understand it at the time. It just didn't make sense to me. But now I do, because I thought, oh, you know me, I'm an emotional girl. I'm just going to wing it and trust my heart. And sometimes the messages that it's telling me is not, going to serve me well. There's just things from my past that I'm comfortable with. So that was the next question that everyone was really confused about, in that when they say be mindful, be present, be here, and the past is the past, the future hasn't happened. Well, I'll call him Billy Bob Sue. Billy Bob Sue said, aren't we supposed to be thinking about the future so we know where we're going to go? And so how do we stay present and still keep our head in the game and look to the future for what we want? I thought that was a great question.
I think so too. We are future-oriented beings, right? With like a lot of other animals, there you have animals who go and hunt and dig and hold the hunt because of the winter, knowing that the winter is coming. And as human beings, we are future-oriented. We handle all the tenses, past, present, and future. The point of the present moment is that action only happens in the present moment. So the visualization, the envisioning of the future is what is beautiful, where we could create goals and we could create something that we want to be, so that our actions are going towards something. Or for example, if you like, if you're sitting in a car and you have no idea where you're going to go, you're going to kind of just either sit in the car and not go, or go around yourself and don't get into any destination. So
Been there.
right. But regardless, if I say I want to go, from Southern California to San Francisco, I keep visualizing, but never get into my car or in a plane. Well, I'm never going to get there either. So the aspect of getting into the car today is a present moment, which action happens here and now. But yes, it's the visualization of whatever I intend, and then to see what is my action plan that I can get there. But ultimately, I got to come back into the present moment to live, to drive. So for example, if I'm driving towards San Francisco, I can't be thinking about San Francisco without being present that I'm driving. Any car might come in, the lanes are going to be shifting. So I got to be watching in the present moment where I'm going, with the idea of knowing where I'm going. So what happens a lot of times is people just kind of like not living in their body and not living, like they're sitting with their family, but they're not really present. They're eating food, they're not present. They're at work, they're not present, because they're either surfing in the past and, the resentment of the past, or resentment of the present now, but it was a beautiful past that I lost, or past sucked. And why me? Poor me.
Yeah.
We go through that, which, takes away who we are from today. And then we'll go into the future. Either, if the future is going to be like this and it's beautiful, but I'm not acting anyway in order to get there. So obviously that future is never going to come. Or we go into anxiety, which is the worst possible scenario of the future, and keep scaring the crap out of ourselves consistently.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So most of the people who really don't want to be in the future and they really want to keep coming back into the present moment is the people who are anxiety ridden about all the stuff of what if, horror concepts in the future, versus, versus having, looking at the future, looking at the possibilities of, obviously anxiety is there to protect us. So things in the future that doesn't work, but then come back to the present moment and say, is there anything I can do about it right now? Can I handle something right now? So some of the people who come to me and they're anxiety ridden, they can't sleep at night because they're constantly ask yourself, 11 o'clock, I'm in my bed. Is there anything I can do about that right now? And if you say yes, please get up and do it and be done with it. And if you say no, there's nothing I can do about it, I'm like, great, put it aside, go to sleep. When you wake up, ask yourself again, what is it that I can do about this matter? And then do what you need to do today in order not to have that awful thing that you think might happen. But that's where it keeps coming back to the present moment.
You know what? We were just having that conversation with a group of ladies today. Their number one thing, they can't sleep at night.
Yeah.
And they're thinking about all the things they should do or could happen or what. And I love the way that you say, listen, if you're there at 11 o'clock at night thinking about something and you could do something about it right now, just go do it. Get it done.
Yeah, or put a pad and a paper and a pen and write down. These are the things I need to do. These are the when I'm going to do them. Great. Now you put it down. Now go to sleep.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit because I love this. I said, what was your one positive thing that you wanted to put out there? I wish I would have known this a lot earlier. Have marketable skills, earn income, build wealth, boost self-confidence, reduces victimhood, and reduces abusability. I think I was a little late in the game on that one. I wasn't thinking about that, I wasn't thinking build wealth. Oh, just be happy, la, 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 which is great. So I was shocked that this was your thing. This was your big thing.
I work a lot with women. And one of the biggest things, I work with domestic violence for almost 17 years. You know, I built two
Oh,
housing and two shelters. I work with Middle Eastern women who their home, you know, their role is being a homemaker. And one of the things that I've noticed consistently is that when a woman has the ability to earn money, and that ability is alive. You know, some people get their degree, they do that, but then they go into a marriage, and that marriage, like they become a full-time mom and a homemaker, and then their ability is no longer alive. It's almost like 20 years, you know, before. So today, if they wanted to go back and create the life for themselves, it's not usable anymore. Things that I keep seeing, you know, 30 years working with couples and women, one thing that and when individually, when you don't have the ability to be financially, let's say, independent or interdependent, and you are only financially dependent, it brings their confidence down a lot. They do a lot.
Yeah.
Feel like, I have to. I'm stuck. And there's nothing worse than feeling stuck and feeling depressed because you're stuck. Many times, you know, get a skill, get a job. If you still want to stay in this marriage, then please do it out of choice, but don't stay out of being stuck. And then,
huge.
and then I think the other part that I've seen is I've watched men who even they're more traditional and they actually requested and they really, really wanted their wife to be home and raise their children. You still hear them. I swear to God, you still hear them. What are they doing? They don't do anything all day. I'm the one who goes and work. They're sitting home. I'm the one, you know, I'm a cash cow. And the way then they begin treating their women who they actually decided and asked.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you.
For them to do this, then they have this kind of a disrespect in their head, even in their own head. Like, even if they're not sharing it, it's still coming in their head that, what does she do all day? And then this comes through. This type of a disrespect and devaluing keeps coming.
Yeah.
Watch the marriages go through this piece. And then it kind of like, you know, it destroys marriages, because usually then when the woman wants to go do something, it's usually out of proving their value and, you know, like resentment. And that's the way now they go after their career, versus by joy, by knowing that they're good at something, that this, you know, I'm passionate about doing something. And whatever their passion is, it's not about, oh, you have to do something to earn the income and, you know, be 50-50. That's not the point. The point,
no, I understand.
Yeah, as much as you know that you're not stuck anywhere. You don't have to take any disrespect or abuse or even disrespect from yourself. I've worked with women who their man was like, no, I don't have an issue. But they had an issue because every time they wanted to do something, if they wanted to go shop in a way, or they wanted to do something, they would be like cringing or, you know, this kind of a shame or not. One of the other things that I hate to ask my partner to put money for me somewhere. It just, you know, it's almost like you're always a little girl asking daddy or mommy for something. And it's as if you've never grown up. This really eats women from inside.
Oh, yeah.
So when you ask me, what would you like, you know, if there's one thing you really want women to know, first thing that came up for me, like, you know,
I love it.
Take care of yourself, even in the realm of finances. However it is for you, feel confident in that area so that you could, you know, you could hold your head up high and feel and know that you have abilities to earn money. You have the abilities to be financially independent. If you choose to be dependent or choose to be interdependent on that, it's a choice and not a have to.
Now, do you help women find those skills? Because let's say, you know, they've been married for a while and they realize, okay, the kids are grown and they don't want to live like this anymore. And they probably feel lost, like they're too old to get back out there. I'm sure you hear that all the time. What advice do you give them?
We start looking at what is it that they're passionate about. Two, if I put a camera on following them, what would be that something that creates a shine in their eyes, and they're doing it effortlessly anyway without putting value on it. And then we pick that piece and we keep opening it up. I have I've worked, for example, with someone who she made the best salsas, like out of this world salsa. And when her kids were gone and all of that, she's like, I don't know what to do. And then she actually became a teacher and then didn't like being a teacher. And she's like, I don't know, I don't want to be a teacher and stuff. So we went through this path, and then she started looking for 2 weeks everybody who wanted to come to her home, they would call her and say, you got to make that salsa. Like, we're coming home we're coming to your house to do that. And then other people were like, oh my God, we have this like huge barbecue. Can you make like salsa for 20 people and bring it? So this, like, she was already getting orders from people without getting paid for it. So we started exploring, like, if people are asking for your salsa, could you ask next time, like, would they be able to order it? So the people around her started ordering it from her. Making a long story short, around 6 months later, she was producing containers of this and giving to her local kids. A year later, her salsas were in Whole Food already.
Oh, good.
And she was looking for manufacturers and, all of that. Another lady who, she was also very, very talented. Her love was art. She wasn't an artist, but she had so much wealth of information about art, and she really loved artists. So she just became an advocate for artists. And then after a while, she just did this, like, she rented places where for one day she would bring artists. And after about 2 years, she created her own brick and mortar place, like a gallery for artists, and she would pick it up. And these are things like you start looking at, what am I doing that I do anyway? And I enjoy it. And if I do it 10 hours a day, I don't get tired of it. And so you turn anything like that into a passion. You taking your passion into a marketability of what's available out there where you could actually take it and do something that you love.
Yeah, yeah. I love that because, I didn't realize this when it was happening, but I sold my health clubs in 2019. And I've always been independent, making my own money, and loved that feeling. And once I sold them, I said to my husband, oh my gosh, what if I can't contribute as much? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And he was like, Sandy, calm down. Like, you already have been hugely successful. You've made money. You will find and recreate yourself. And I said, okay. And, it took about a year for me to figure that out. But I thought at that time, oh my goodness, what must women feel like? If I'm feeling like this, just in that year, what must they feel like if they're not sure about how they can contribute? And I don't even mean equal amount. It's like you said, just feeling that you're doing something you love and do have the capability to make income.
Yes. The other side of this, the side of the coin, is also that I've known people who, women who don't have the ability, however, they bank on marrying into a comfortable home so that they can be the role of the homemaker, and they can be the role of mom and all of that. And there's beauty in that. There's nothing wrong with it. But the piece that happens is, if that's the only thing you're banking on, you're going to have a lot of expectation, and sometimes even a sense of entitlement, because that was your dream to get into that. And then you get a sense. Yeah. And then what happens is, within the marriage, it's going to be a lot of hellholes. Because when that type of entitlement and expectation shows up, there's going to be, usually people don't get all their expectations met. And in different ways, a lot is put on their husband. Then because that role is put in as my whole sense of identity and my whole sense of who I am and my safety and my security is based on this human being. So you could see also the pressure that gets created in this place. What if they die? What if they leave me? And, so the fear is always there because I put all my, eggs in one basket from that perspective of all of it. Safety, security, identity, everything. So there becomes this pressure that like, you've got to do things my way. Or if you don't do it my way, then I'm going to get enraged with you. So then others, I'm giving you both sides of the point.
Yeah. Woo! You know what? I've had so many women on this show, and we've never covered this subject ever. And I'm so glad you're bringing it up, man. I'm taking like notes like crazy. And don't you worry, for anybody who didn't start at the beginning, I'm recording this and you'll be able to watch it and come back to it because it's a lot to think about. It's clearing things up in my head, Dr. Foojan, of why I felt so off that year. Like I couldn't understand it. Like, why was I so concerned? So thank you for that. I can't believe the time is going so quickly and I have so many other questions for you, but we'll have to bring you back. But I do want to address statement number 4. It says, align your values, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Can you explain a little bit more about how we go about that?
Yes, I mean, as human beings, we have a lot of duality, Sandy. Just, anybody who listens to themselves, they'll see different parts want different things. And, at the same time that I want to lose weight, I'm putting all of these, sweets in my mouth. And so there's parts constantly, that are coming at each other. So a lot of times we think, like if I ask someone, they'll give me all of these ideas about themselves, and then we look at their behavior, and the behaviors are so different about what they say they want. So you can see that life becomes kind of weird, strange, when we have another idea. We have fantasies and dreams, and we even think about ourselves in a different idea, and then when you really put the camera on someone and they're looking at themselves and the behaviors and the result, they're like, that's not what showed up. And then when we don't get what we want to show up, we usually obviously blame others. Like, obviously it's their fault, and it was bad luck. They're prejudiced, or they're this or that, something. It's because of, and then obviously it's always then my parents' fault. They didn't raise me that way. It's them that screwed up. So then, and that's not helpful. Okay, like even if it's everybody else's fault, and I'm not saying that, other people don't act us in that way. But then what do we do now? Like, how is this helpful for me to live in a world that I say I'm living in a world of danger, that I don't have any luck and I'm not going anywhere? I mean, that way of thinking that definitely doesn't going to move me. It definitely will take me to depression, but won't move me in a healthy way. What kind of a healthy way that I can go? And it's like, well, have some I can look at my own values and say, I can be a person who is kind, or who wants to be honest, or who cares for other people, or some type of value and principles that you say you want to live by. And usually I say, like, when you're dead and somebody's talking about you, what would you like them to say about you? I
haven't thought about that recently, but I will.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about it, and then come back and say, good, I'm alive. So let me see if from here on until I'm dead, at least I can act on those. So when I'm dead, somebody could say, Foojan was this and that, right? So I have the opportunity at this point from the present moment to do that. So pick up your values. But then it's like, what are the thought process that would can be formulated that are based on these values? What is it? What kind of thought process do you like enjoy to have? Poor me, I suck, or the world sucks is not a thought process that people really want to have. And emotions, do you prefer to hang around with? Some people, without knowing like default position, they're always angry, or they're always anxiety driven, or is always like sad and angry. Well, emotions are like clouds. They're not always somewhere unless we're holding on to something, some belief system that keeps creating that emotion. So it's like, well, what emotions would you like to hang out with? The rest of them can come and go, right? Like anger, I can see what release it and move on. Sadness has come in, fear and anxiety can come in, but can I just constantly like come back to a sense of comfort or joy or happiness or whatever else that you choose to have, right? And then what behaviors can I do which consistently comes back and not only sources from the value and the thought and the emotion, and it behaves in a particular way that it loops back to that. So I can behave in a way that keeps giving me back joy versus doing a behavior that creates shame from me, for example, or anger from me. So it's like it's like an inner loop that can keep going back and forth. And that's how you become like on integrity and kind of congruent. So that your value system, your thought process, your emotional process, and your behavior, they're all aligned. And I
love that.
How do you do that? I said, think of it this way. If every action you do tomorrow is going to be on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, wherever, do it in a way that when it's done and put in public, you're like, yep, I did that.
I love the way you said too. What emotions do you want to hang out with? Like, I've never heard anyone put it that way. Like, I want to hang out with joy and calm, ease of flow, I like that versus frustration and hate and anger. Oh, Dr. Foojan, this has been so much fun. I'm so grateful for you coming on the show. I got something to say, people. This has been incredible. She's incredible. I know you're going to want to share it, like it, rate it. And again, if you missed it, don't worry. I'm going to record it and put it on all the sites. But before we go, how can they find you?
Oh, thank you. They can find me on my website, foojanzeine.com, FOOJANZEINE.com. And all the social media is Dr. Foojan Zeine, this Instagram or LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all of those.
Yeah, and you got to check out our podcast because it's awesome. It's awesome.
Thanks.
And you post that, like you said, all over. It's on YouTube too.
Yeah. When we talked, I put it on my YouTube channel, Dr. Foojan Zeine, and then it's also obviously podcast anywhere everybody gets their podcast. So check out Sandy and I on the podcast.
You're awesome. You're great. I love it. I love spending time with you. Your patients are so freaking lucky to have you in their lives. They're so lucky. Keep rocking on, doing what you're doing to inspire others in the world. And you know what I'm going to say, people? Until next time, toodles.
Bye.